Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
We're going to start off with the prayer, get into praise and worship, and get right into the word. Father Yah, we just thank you right now for this day that you have made, Father Yah. We come to you right now, just repent of every sin that we know of and every sin that we know not of. Father Yah, we just thank you right now for allowing us to operate in love, Father Yah, one towards another. Father Yah, we thank you that we get all the malice out of our heart, any leaven that's going on, Father Yah. We thank you right now that everything that's not like you, all forms of darkness, Father Yah, that it comes from out of us, that we take an effort, Father Yah, that we make a conscious effort, Father Yah, to expel these things from out of our mind, Father Yah, and walk in love, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just magnify your name right now because you're worthy. Father Yah, we come against all forms of sickness, all forms of disease, anything that's not like you that tries to keep us in bondage, Father Yah. And Father Yah, we thank that we have a clear head and our mind is stayed on you, Mashiach, Father Yah. Father Yah, we magnify your name for this day that you have made, and we should continue to rejoice and be glad in it. In the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach, we pray. So be it. All right, Shabbat Shalom again, everybody. We're going to be getting into the text a little bit today. We're going to talk about love today. And it's a very important reason why I'm talking about this today. We're going to go over something when this is all over off the air. Just remember the word CERN. We're just going to go over CERN very briefly. And this is one reason why I'm talking about love now, because you're going to have love to deal with some of the stuff that they're doing in the background. You're going to have to be genuine. It's going to be real serious when Yahushua Mashiach made the comment, the prince of this world is coming. He found nothing in me. Like, so you need to make sure that you're pure, make sure that there's no malice in you, make sure that you're walking upright, because if not, it will be revealed, based on this evil stuff that they're doing in the background. So just remember the word CERN. We'll talk about it after the lesson. And that's CERN. Everybody should get a text about it. We're going to look at love briefly. Let's look at John 3:16 and 17. And we're going to kind of get, into it just a little bit to lay the foundation and let everybody know what it's going to take to stand. When all this wickedness starts coming, when everything starts being revealed that we're looking at concerning the real mark of the beast and concerning the book of Revelation, when it gets to a point where you really can't buy, sell, or trade, you're going to have to be genuine. You're going to have something that can really hold you outside of your words. You're going to have to be to a point where you really know the Most High and where you really operate in a level of unity. And so I say that because you got to think about it in the book of Acts. They wouldn't, I would say there was no division going on. They say they were all on one accord. And you can't be on one accord with somebody you hate. You can't be on one accord with somebody that you don't love. And so this is why the love is expressed and it's stressed so much, because it takes that to be in unity. Like, you're not going to be able to come together for the greater good and the common cause. That's not going to work. You're going to have real, genuine, pure love to fight these demonic things that's going on in the atmosphere. And so let's look at John 3:16 and 17.
Okay. John chapter 3, verse 16. But Yah so loved the world that he gave his Yahkid, which is son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. But Yah sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Okay, so when we look at that, it's not from a generic standpoint of what we would hear the ministers talk about, just the fact that, he gave his son. He gave his son so that fact you can actually have really protection from the wickedness that's out here. I mean, you can't say I can do all things through Yahushua Mashiach, which strengthens me. And so you're going to have to actually have him in order not to perish. He said not perish. We're not just talking about, you got to think, get away from the heaven and hell standpoint of things. It's not all about what's going to happen in the end. Yeah, in the end of times, like what we in right now in end times, but it's going to be about what's going to happen while you're here now also. And so you're going to have him for real in order to make it. It's like everything that's fake going to be revealed. Any type of darkness that's actually macerating as light is going to be revealed. It's like it's going to be revealed. I mean, there's no way around it. And it's getting revealed on a regular basis. You got people that took the jab that you would probably think wouldn't have took it, but they took it because they was manipulated into taking, they bought into the system of things. Anybody that know better realize that this world doesn't have you in their best interest. Like they're actually trying to turn you against Yah. That's what this is all about. And so when these people start doing this wickedness and everything that's out here, you're not going to be able to make it if you're not together in unity. That's what it says. One to chase 1,000, and two will put 10,000 to flight. But if you're not together, then what difference it make? It's like you're going to be able to perpetrate the fraud and fake the fun. You're going to have to really be straight up about this. And if not, it's going to be revealed when the time comes. It's not going to be no way that you can go around this. And I'm looking at this to say that if the Most High would give his only begotten, then what would you do? That's the thing. So it's like we have to look at it and say, okay, to what extent are we willing to go to be on one accord? And if there's malice, you can't do none of this. You can't do none of this if you're against one another. One thing I noticed about a lot of these other countries, they take a pride and a dignity into who they are. They'll stick together to the end, and they really care about one another. They're really concerned about their own kind. It's like that's what the problem we have most of the time, based on the Willie syndrome and whatever else you want to call it. Whatever happened during our captivity of our ancestors. You know what I'm saying? And everything we wanted to do to be accepted and to wanting the Gentile to accept us causes us to hate one another. I'm speaking from a standpoint now to Yasharal. I'm saying it causes us to not like one another. And it causes us to be in competition one with another. And it causes us to hate on each other. And it causes us to, as long as all that's going on, you won't make it when the time begins to get bad. It's getting bad now, but you wait until it go down the line a little bit more, you're going to realize that you're going to wish you had somebody that you can actually depend on, somebody that you can lean on, somebody that you can really confide in and be honest with and say, this is what's going on. Because if you don't get it out of you, and if you're still trying to struggle with it, whatever it is, it's going to be revealed. Because like I said, in the background, a lot of stuff is being worked on and a lot of wickedness is happening. And so in order to, we have to look at this outside of just the Bible. I mean, I'm reading this because we got to read it to give people that, that's not tuned in at all. I'm sure most people on here now are tuned in to what's going on, but there are people that's going to see the video that's not even tuned in. They don't know what's going on. So we have to be basic with them on the level of just the basic fundamentals. But outside of the basics, it's way bigger. When you look at John 3:16 and 17, it's saying that you will perish if you don't have him. And that's what it's saying when you translate it. So you have to actually look at that and say, look, what can I get out of this? How can I glean from this and say that I can use this to be able to survive when the time comes? And so that's something. Let's go to John. We're going to skim through a few of these scripts because the biggest conversation is going to come up later. Let's go to John 14 and 15. John chapter 14, verse 15. And I'm laying this foundation because, you got to look at what I'm going to get to in the end and show you. I mean, like, you're going to have to do some of your own research on this, but just the basic stuff that we're talking about is going to show you this is what it's going to take to defeat what's going on. And I'm not going to go into detail, but I just keep stressing CERN. I mean, when I heard about this stuff and I saw this stuff, it was a great concern to me, the portals that these demons are trying to open up and trying to search for dark matter, and they're trying to find ways to manipulate what's going on in the atmosphere and stuff is like. And if you have any evil in you, it's going to manipulate and it's going to magnify whatever it is that's going on inside of you. I mean, we talking about people that actually done the Tuskegee experiment and all this stuff. And I know that's not the same level of this stuff, but I'm saying, like, they're not going to stop at anything. The Most High is going to have to stop them. It's almost, this stuff reminds me of the Tower of Babel when they just were going to keep on building until they got to the top. It's like, look, let me go down and confound their languages because they're trying to accomplish something that I don't want them to even think that they can accomplish. So when we think about this stuff, just keep thinking about, get outside of the Bible and get outside of what's going on in your area and think about what's going on with these demons out here, the dark portals that they're trying to open up, everything they're trying to do to cause confusion in you, to cause you to be mentally disengaged to a point where you're not tuned into the Most High. This is why we're dealing with so much propaganda and they praise this stuff. It's like we're supposed to be getting excited about what they're doing from a scientific standpoint concerning finding out the Big Bang. And we know that that's not true anyway. So we're just going to keep going. Let's look at John chapter 14, verse 15.
John 14 and 15. If you love me, guard my commandments.
Okay. You can keep going to the next.
And I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever.
Okay. Okay, so this is the thing right here. you're gonna need that comfort in order to make it. Say, if you love me, guard my commandment. So we're dealing with love. Love is a call to action. It's like it's not about just saying it. No, you have to do this. It says, if you love me, translate, keep my commandments. So if you don't love me, then you're not keeping my commandments nowhere. If you're saying you love me and I see you not keep my commandments, you just all talk. It's the same thing with the ones that are around you that you say, I love you, a Koti and Ak and all that stuff. We use all these terms, but at the end of the day, can somebody really, call you if they got an issue for real or something that they got going on? Because it's gonna get to a point where we're gonna really have to counsel one another. We're gonna really have to be, I would say, spiritual psychologists to one another to be able to discern what's going on and what kind of battle that they're dealing with. Some of the sickness that you have going on won't even come from what you think it's coming from. I mean, we have to look at what do we need? Who do we have out here that can really minister to somebody that can actually say, look, this is what's happened to you. This is something that, and I don't want to spook anybody, like I say, but I'm just trying to keep this basic, you know what I'm saying? This is what we're going to have to do to help one another. We're going to have to learn to be open and trust one another. If you can't do that, you won't get no help, because we got people running around here hurting and they have stuff that they going on and they not telling nobody because they act like they got it all together. It's like when you see somebody in the store, you say, how you doing? And they just say, I'm doing fine. But in church, they would say, I'm doing, what they say? Blessed and highly favored in love, pushing on, never desire to look back, all praising and shouting and everything on the way passing by. You know what I'm saying? Like, man. And then you turn around and they got, lights gonna get cut off. A son just went to prison, husband whooping up beside the head, all kinds of stuff going on, but you blessed and highly favored. No, you need to talk to me so we can touch and agree and go to the Most High about the issue that you really have. You're not okay. It's a facade. It's a mask that we put on. What I'm saying is this stuff gonna pull the mask off people. And I hate to keep going there because I don't like ministering about something that's going on the outside, but the outside world is what's affecting us. This is what, it's just like when your children go to school, it's the public system that corrupts them. So we have to talk about what they're doing. So I keep saying CERN. The reason why I'm saying this is because July the 5th is when they get ready to start this crap. And so it's a lot, and it's been going on for years. I've been looking at it here and there, but I'm not going to preach on it. That's why I say we're going to talk about it outside, but I am saying this is why you need to make sure that your mind is right and that you're together. You won't be able to just say, I'm okay. You're going to have to share some stuff with people sometime that may be embarrassing and say, look, this is what I got going on. Who can you call on? You can stop saying you can call mom and dad, and they're not in this walk and they're not in this truth. It's not going to happen. They're going to talk about you. They're going to tell the whole family, oh, such and did this and this happened. It's going to have to get to a point where you have to deal with it. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's from a marriage standpoint and from a standpoint of just individualism. If you're not married, you have to be honest with it, deal with it, and you have to trust somebody. It's like a real true buddy system is going to have to be set up in order to make it in this end time, because you have to get over the issue. If you got this issue going on or whatever it is that's happened to you, how can you defeat what they're doing to you when you ain't even got the issue cleared up yet? You ain't even begun to fight yet. It's like you still on the way to go get the bullets and the ammunition, and it's coming at you already. And you trying to hold off, saying, I'm gonna get it. No, let somebody know, hey, I don't have enough to get my ammunition. Can you come on and help me fight, until I get my ammunition up? If you don't do that, and this is what the enemy wants, he wants us to fake. He wants to make like nothing is wrong, make sure everything's okay. This is pride. And that's what it is. And pride is the opposite. Pride, when we get into Corinthians, you realize that pride has no place in love. It doesn't mix. What it does is causes you to perpetrate the fraud, make sure acting like everything is okay, but deep down inside you're hurting. And you won't tell nobody because we have put hurt and we have made that be weak, basically. Because like men, hey, look, I'm not supposed to cry, I'm a man, but it's just emotional. Like, you don't see a man running around crying all the time, but when things happen that you got to deal with, you have to say, Yahushua Mashiach wept at the act of watching Lazarus. They say he wept. And so it's like, so we have to look at this and say, how do we be honest with ourselves and say, I have an issue going on, I need to talk to somebody. We don't have nobody to talk to. That's the thing. When you don't have nobody to talk to, you deal with the hurt, and then hurt begets hurt. Say when you hurt somebody, when you've been hurt, then you hurt other people. You put up this wall. And this wall that you got put up is stopping everything. This wall got you closed in a box to a point where now you won't let nobody in. And it's like you ain't coming out of it. It's like you done went into some kind of shell. And that's what the enemy wants you to do. He wants you to retreat. And I always say all the time, we're so much on the actual defense against everything we dealing with and everything we battling with and against the enemy of what we're dealing with as a whole, to the point where we can't be on the offense. We're supposed to be the one fighting. We're supposed to be on the battlefield, but the soldiers haven't geared up yet, because they right now, they like this, they ducking everything that's going on, getting beat upside the head, but we don't have to be like that. Like, we're supposed to be the aggressors. We're supposed to be the aggressor. We can't be the aggressor. We bogged down with things that we can't talk about. What I'm trying to get to is, the more that you live on this wicked earth, you'll realize the stuff that's going on in the background with the scientists, the manipulation of the atmosphere, chemtrails, and the list goes on and on. We know about it. You won't be able to be fake and deal with it. You're gonna have to be real. You're gonna have to say, look, I got this problem going on, or I need to stop this or do this. And you gotta have somebody you can confide in. You gotta have somebody you can say, look, and it doesn't matter. It needs to be somebody you can trust. Like, you need to know who it is. Pray to the Most High that he tell you, this is who you need to talk to. It don't have to be one person, but it needs to be to a point where you have to look and say, I'm gonna weigh this out. Is it worth me dealing with this forever, or being defeated by the enemy, not to be embarrassed? You know what I'm saying? Like, just so, you know, I'm gonna be embarrassed so I can be free. That's just how this works. You gotta say, look, I made up my mind. I'm gonna be embarrassed just so I can obtain freedom. And it's either that or bondage, you know. Anyway, let's go to John 13, 34 and 35. 13, 34 and 35. You go ahead.
John chapter 13, verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have loved one to another.
Okay, so once again, we're still talking about love. I'm trying to hammer this home without staying on these scripts. So if you don't have love one to another, you're not his disciple. You're not known to be his disciples. Like, if you're fighting with your brother, fighting with your sister, fighting with your coach on a regular basis, it's showing that you're not his disciples. That's what's going on. And this is what we see in the kingdom. The enemy is eating us up when we have one fighting over doctrine. Because when the time comes, you think this stuff they're doing in the background, think concerned about what is Yahushua or Yahusha. You think they're concerned about that? You think they're concerned about whether or not this person is still saying JC and you're saying Yahusha? I mean, you just have to go from where you at, but the enemy doesn't pick side. He'll attack anybody. That's the thing. He doesn't pick sides. So we have to stop the fighting, stop the bickering, stop trying to use your doctrine to bully somebody into believing what you believe. It's okay if they don't believe it. You believe it. And that's the thing. So when you find the truth, you walk in the truth. When you find the light, you walk in the light. It's not what we have an issue with is, and I've seen it all the way from the church side to this church side, getting mad when somebody hadn't come into the revelation that you came into and judging them. Right. That's the thing, and saying, oh, you stupid, you still say this, you still said, you still celebrate this. We ain't gonna do it, but at the end of the day, I understand you haven't came into the knowledge of the truth yet. And I say yet because I know that the grace of God will pull you in. So that's what we have to look at. Stop, you don't have time to fight about doctrine right now. It's getting to a point where it's at that point where it's so serious now to, if you're not serious about making sure that you're in the Most High and rooted and grounded for real, the stuff around you is going to pluck you out. It's going to be things that happen that's going to challenge your faith. It's going to make you say, look, should I really be bending this way or should I be bending this way? And once again, remember, there are going to be ones that watch this clip and they're going to really be wrestling with simple stuff that we would call, well, the shit, now should I take this fifth jab they done came up with? Because they ain't going to stop. They're going to keep coming out with something for something else. They're going to have something for everything they produce. Is going to be a solution to it. And so, and we got to look at it as people that really need help. Those are the ones that's going to need this buddy system. Going to need people that's strong like us to say, look, you don't have to do that. Don't sell yourself out to the enemy because they're bringing fear to you. This is their job to bring fear and to get you scared. So once they get you scared, like I can create a monster and then I can also create a bigger monster and say, look, this monster beat this monster that I made you scared of. And that's all it is, simplifying it. I mean, you know, they're playing games. And so anyway, I'm trying to run through this so we can get here. Let's start now, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Okay, we'll go. Yeah, let's go to Matthew 22. You're right. Matthew 22, 36 and 40. Roll quick. Matthew 22, 36 through 40.
Matthew 22, verse 36. Rabbi, which is the great commandment in the Torah? Yahushua said unto him, you shall love Yahuwah Eloheka with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the Torah and the prophets.
Okay, and this is what people mix up. They don't say don't keep the rest of the commandments. It's just letting you know if you're doing these commandments, of course you're going to keep the rest of them. You're going to keep the rest. This is like we have to get away from what we've been taught in church and all this stuff and look at this is just expressing, once again, love. That's it. And that's what I'm trying to target. There's so many scriptures on love, but I got a few of them just to make the point across that if you're doing these two, then you're going to obviously do the rest of them. This wasn't to take away the other commandments. It was just saying, look, these will give you a foundation and you'll definitely do the rest because you're saying, look, you love me. I mean, you're saying you love your neighbor as yourself. You don't want to see your neighbor not keep the commandments. Why would you keep these commandments and then think it's okay to lie and not keep the Shabbat? I mean, like that. I mean, it's an ignorant standpoint. So I say this stuff because what people that's unlearned concerning the scripture don't realize that when we look at the actual, I guess they call the Brit Hadashah, when we look at the new and renewed covenant, this was written by those that were walking in the Ruach HaKodesh. So it's like, because see what scares people that's in the walk, they don't want to hear about the gift. They're thinking, okay, now you're back in Christianity. No, they hijack our word and our truth. Like it was never a point in time where you weren't supposed to have the gifts. A lot of people been duped when they came into what we call the walk and the truth. They threw away the gift and they threw away discernment. They threw away how to walk in the Ruach HaKodesh, saying now this is church, this is Christianity. Well, church is just assembly. It's to call out one. This church right here, we can have church whenever there's two or more gathered together in my name. He said, I'm in the midst. So stop looking at, church, Christianity, and what you saw then, deeming every event to be evil. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Once you take away the pagan holidays and you take away being fake, you take away trying to beat people out their money, and you look at the scripture. I can't not read the scripture because one think about Christianity. That's your problem that you're looking at it like that. They hijack our religion. We're supposed to still operate in the Ruach. Jude said, building yourself up in your utmost holy faith, praying in the Ruach HaKodesh. So we can't, we have to look at this and say, look, don't be spooked when you hear this stuff, but realize that they took it and they twisted it and started using it for evil and add paganism to it. That's what happened. I mean, we just have to look at it like that. So let's go. So we're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. You can go whenever you get it because I'm pretty much.
1 Corinthians chapter 13, first verse. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Okay, and so it's the thing. So it says you can speak with the tongues of men and angels. It don't matter what you do. You can have the faith to be able to tell a mountain to be your ruler and cast them to the sea. If you don't have love, it's pointless. And this is what I'm saying. Fighting over doctrine on the internet. The Hebrews that I've seen are saying the Hebrewites, whatever they saying they are, fighting over doctrine. One saying it's this day, one saying it's that day, one fighting over this, fighting over that. That's not love. That's division. That's discord. Sowing discord is what it is. And this is not, when you get, there's a level of debate that's healthy. When it talks about they reason among the scriptures, seeing whether or not these things were so. That's different than when you see somebody say something and you're trying to get a point across, and when the point doesn't get across and say y'all saying, look, we'll agree to disagree, we'll just pray about it and see what we can come up with later, you start defaming that person's character. You start tearing them down, stab them in the back, talking about they ain't this, they ain't that. That's what the enemy wants. That's discord. That's not. So when we use the word debate, we're looking at that from a worldly standpoint. So I don't even really look at it like that. I look at it and say, look, debating is one thing and reasoning among the scriptures is a whole different thing, because debate ends up in a battle most of the time. And that's what, and it's do what you want, but at the end of the day, all that stuff is what's going to keep you distracted. When the enemy comes, you're going to be so busy caught up in the trying to be right, trying to prove which one of y'all got the right Shabbat and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, you're going to be swept away with the whirlwind, because you're going to get to a point where won't be no buying, selling, and trading unless you connect. And you're going to have to really be connected to the Most High in order to get around this. And that's what it is. So it ain't going to be no, like say, there'll be no loopholes.
You're gonna have to be really pure. That's why I say the prince's world coming, he find nothing in me. Whatever's found in you, this stuff that's going on, gonna reveal it. It's gonna actually show that you're not who you say you are. So you won't be able to fake, you won't be able to perpetrate. So here comes the better system. Find somebody you can trust that you can grab hold to and say, look, I got an issue, let's get it fixed. And so we can move forward and fight what's really going on. Because the issue ain't the problem that you got. That's your problem. That's the flesh. You need to modify that. They still fighting. Even though you got that going on, it's still gonna be coming at you. The darks are still coming. So you just gotta move forward and make sure that, that we're honest and that we're pure. Quit looking for some wow factor and all this different stuff that's going on from a lot of this fake stuff that we see acting like it's ministry and it's really trying to get you caught up into something else. Stop letting people sell you your stuff. I mean, their actual character. Like you shouldn't be buying into nobody. Like Apostle Paul said, follow me as I follow Yahushua Mashiach. He said, who am I? Who is Apollo? I plant one water, but y'all give the increase. I'm sitting here now, but it's just to do what I feel like the Most High said do. It ain't for me. Follow me, it's about, I know what's really gonna go down. I know it's gonna happen. I've seen what, these things can do. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen what the enemy can do to destroy somebody from a mental standpoint. And once he get the mind, that's the battlefield, you're done. That's why you gotta think on certain things that they tell you to think on. You have to think on those things that the Most High tell you to think on. You can't be thinking on or pondering on what they're doing. You have to strategize. And if you're not going to do that, then you're going to fall by the wayside trying to prove yourself to be right. Like we can't spend this energy trying to be right and trying to be so politically correct and trying to be biblically correct and say, oh, look, you can have all the history you want. At the end of the day, it's happening. I'm trying to choose my words wisely. I'm just going to say, just make sure that when you get through with all that, you connect. Because if you're not connected, it's going to be a disconnection. And that's what's going to happen.
I did want to add, you talk about all the arguing on, social media about different doctrine and stuff. I've noticed that it's like there's been an influx of this lately where it's one thing trying to teach somebody something saying, we do this because this and showing the scriptures, but you have people with posts starting off, y'all Negroes, this and this, you come off in a toxic way, yeah. You know what I'm saying? You come off causing discord, it's one thing to try to teach something on the post and it's another thing to start off your post already coming in an offensive manner. So when you come like that, you're trying to sow discord basically, because the way you come off is going to be offensive to somebody, and a lot of people do that. I see that a lot. Like as I look through Facebook, these, so-called mores and teachers and, whoever, just people, they want to come off in an offensive manner. And then when somebody says something bad, they want to put them on blast like they're wrong. But look how you came off. You couldn't have been doing that in love, because you're doing it in love. Your post shouldn't start off, y'all Negroes, this, and this, So
yeah, I mean, I'm listening to that. That's what I'm eating up. That's the issue right there. That's what the enemy wants you to do. That's discord. That's actually, it's not, it talks about, you should be easy to be entreated. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to be approached. A lot of these pastors I dealt with in the past, that's why I was kicked out of most of the churches, because like when I bring the script to them, it could be by tithes, well, like that. They didn't want to hear that stuff because they want to make the money and they want to make sure everything's fine. I say, look, we're doing all these events. What about things we're supposed to be doing for our soul? What about things we're supposed to be doing to get ourselves built up in the Ruach? And they were like, no, we got to do this, got to do this. And it's like, they would just make excuses, but it's like the confusion, it's a Ruach. You know what I'm saying? It's like people don't want to be at shalom. They want to be at confusion. It's like a lot of people, they thrive off confusion.
Right.
Like you ever notice somebody that every time they come around, they got what they would call the tea. It's like they got something, they're going to tell you that's juicy. It's like they got to have that in order to make it. It's like they got to have something new going on. Like that's why the scripture talk about being in Yah with contentment is great gain. And those that are not content, that don't trust the fact that this is it, they're going to be carried away with any wind of doctrine. So when somebody come with some mess like that, it's a wind of doctrine. You see somebody on there fighting, first thing they come out, they dissing somebody off the top. Like you started off like you just came out with a punch. It's like, and then that person say the slightest thing back, now it's war.
Right.
No, like, so it's like, and this is the confusion that
they want to throw out some hide their hands. I didn't call anybody's name, but they know who you talking to because y'all probably had a previous conversation, something like it. So you don't have to call their name,
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Somebody hit dog holler. No, you was trying to hit that person on purpose.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just strategic. They'll see a few people out there that they know may know this individual. They'll bring things up that they know this person's gonna know, and they know the people on there gonna remember this setting and say, I ain't gonna call no name, but it was somebody. And then you got people in the back. I know somebody that's the same bull crap. It's obvious who it was.
And the person knows who, who you're talking to. That's why they get offended. But then you want to act like you weren't talking about them because you didn't call their name. Same difference.
We're gonna go to 1 John 4:7-8, and then go back to Corinthians. So let's go to 1 John 4:7-8, but everybody hold their place at 1 Corinthians. We're gonna step away for a minute. 1 John chapter 4, verse 7-8, and then we're gonna get right back on that Corinthians, because that's gonna be the bread and butter to get us there. You can go ahead when you get it.
Right. 1 John chapter 4, verse 7. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of Yah, and everyone that loves is born of Yah and knows Yahuwah. He that loves not knows not Yah, for Yah is love.
That's it. So if they're coming off in a manner that they're not showing love, and this is it, we have to look at this now. Remember, love is not just doing what anybody say do and being a pushover and all this. Everybody got to really know what love really is.
Right.
I wrote down the generic, definition of profound, tender, passionate affection for another person. That's just in general. But love is long suffering too. Like you could love somebody and then you don't have to put up with their bull crap. I'm not saying you got to accept everything or be some doormat or trash can for somebody because you love them. I'm saying love will cause you to be long suffering toward this individual. And it's like the real love is shown when somebody do something to you, and it's like you have to be, alert in the ruach to say, okay, look, am I supposed to be, giving this person an opportunity now? Should I just cut them off? You got to realize, you got to make sure you calculate your next step. Just because somebody do something to you, that means you immediately cut them off all the time. That's the thing. And see, love is not, when you operate in love, you don't have the ruach of retaliation real quick. It's like you have to realize, okay, look, I don't have to let this person take advantage of me, but at the same time, I'm watching them and I'm gonna see whether or not where this is going. They may need help from you. The individual may be going through something that you may be the one to minister to them to get them through this situation, but you done cut them off because you're mad because it happened to you. Like, who are you? And Yahushua Mashiach was beat, whooped. All this stuff happened to him, and you're saying you can't take somebody saying something that what we would call a tongue lashing, what we would call disrespecting you. I'm not saying you're supposed to be disrespected, but I'm saying it happened, and you're not just sitting there letting it continue, but the moment is gone, and you got rocks in your mouth, and you're mad every time you see them. Rather than taking this thing to Yah and saying, look, I'm gonna see what the deal is. Maybe they had a bad day or some stuff went on, and then if you do that, most of the time that person may come back and they may break down or whatever and let you know, hey, look, this happened. I had this happen, and it wasn't even about you, but you just happen to be the one that took you. It's almost like the straw that breaks the camel's back. Like you can be around somebody that had a bad day, and then you do something that may not be as rough, but you may come across in a way, and they may not even want to hear it. It could be positive. And at that point, all hell breaks loose. Well, it wasn't really you, unless it was some issue that y'all had going on a regular basis. If it wasn't no continuing battle with you and this person, most of the time it wasn't even you. It was they had a bad day, and you wound up being the one that caught it when the time came. But you ain't worried about that, because now you done cut them off. You piss every time you see him. You talk about him like a dog. That's what I'm saying. That right there is really, that's not the ruach there. That's the flesh. And it's not saying that you're not supposed to cut people off, but there are times you have to cut people off because they are toxic. We're talking about when you tune in, you'll know when and when not to cut somebody off. That's the thing. And when you don't cut somebody off and the relationship continues and it's not toxic and everything works out, it meant that you weren't supposed to cut them off. You were just supposed to be the light to them at that time. They were just having the issue going through a rough patch. So you had to be the example. That's all it was. I mean, it was just, that was your time to go to what they say your cross or to your stake at that time. You were being crucified at that time so that you can be a light to an individual to help them shine. But you can't do that. That's real ministry. It takes you to let go of pride in order to do that. When you're prideful, you're not going to do that. Because when you're prideful, your stance says nobody better not ever say nothing to disrespect me, period. I'm going to let them have it. And when you operate like that, that ain't the Most High. That's you constantly on the defense mode, constantly want to be emotional and walking around like a ticking time bomb, waiting on somebody to do something to you pretty much. When you operate like that, that's the opposite of love. And we're just trying to bring, and that's how most of the ones that sitting there in this walk operate. It's like, you know what I'm saying, man, I mean, like some of the most wickedest hearts I've ever seen from what I see it from the video standpoint in person have been in this walk. like that. I mean, it's like, it is what it is. Because, I would say when I was, dealing with the Christian world and church, I would see ones and I would know what standpoint they own. You could just see what's happening. It was what it was. But in this is like everybody want to have some type of accolades. So just because now they found out they're the people, they feel like they done got the S on their chest. So now it's like, look, I'm the stuff, I'm gonna let everybody have it. You're gonna have
for self-righteous.
Yeah, for self-righteous. That's what it's about. So, but we ever go there? Yeah, kept going so far. So let's go back. Did we read the one? So let's go to 1 Corinthians 13:2 now.
All right. First Corinthians 13 and verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all belief, so that I could remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing.
So, and that's saying, doesn't matter what else you got going on, if you don't have love, you're nothing. And it's just the same. You know how it is when you do something to somebody, and this is just my example. When you do something to somebody and you have wronged them, instead of you apologizing and being straight up for what your fault was in the situation, you try to give them something. That ain't no apology. No gift is not no apology. That's fake. That's phony. Man, I sit back and watch y'all. I've been playing chess for years. Man, I see people, man, that, coming a mile away. Even as a teenager, I used to see stuff that was going to go wrong. And I see how people move and operate. My wife would tell you, I'll watch somebody and it's like, she'd be like, and I'll be like, I can listen to you, know you full of and everything, still dap you up, shake your hand, say, and never show it. Because I play chess. I'm not trying to, get caught up, but I'm just saying you have to be careful, because it's like when you do something wrong, you have to make it known. If you're trying to, you can't, either you just walk on and be how you're going to be, but if you're saying in your head, you're attempting to rectify an issue, $50 don't do it. A cake don't do it. None of that stuff don't do it. Opening your mouth saying, look, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. It was my fault. I did this to you and because I had this going on. Please forgive me. Forgive me. You ain't got to say please, whatever. Be real. But just giving them something, that doesn't rectify the situation. That's a gift. That's a kind gesture, but it doesn't mean that you have apologized. That's the thing. And that's what, and it's like we have to stop playing games. You know what I'm saying? We have to realize that, even as we go further down, we may not read all this, but it'll talk about when I was a child, I did childish things. When I became a man, I put away those childish things. That's a child's standpoint. You know what I'm saying? You playing games then. Just be real. You know what I'm saying? If you have an issue with somebody, something like that, if it's to a point y'all can't walk together, be separate. I mean, Paul and Barnabas had to separate, and it was the Ruach that separated them. You don't have to walk with somebody. How can two walk together unless they agree? But what you don't have to do is be fake. Just be real. Say, look, hey, look, this may not work out, but I just want to apologize. I don't want us to leave on bad notes. I wish you all the best. End it on a good note. That's it. And you don't owe me anything else after that. It's just not working. That's it. But don't be phony and fake. You know what I'm saying? You're like, and I that's one of my pet peeves, but I still learn to deal with it. When I see some fake stuff going on, I peep it out a mile away and I just let the person, what we call have enough rope to hang them own self. I don't hang their own self. I don't try to, edge it on and that like that. I just know how to watch it. I know what's going on. So, okay, I see what angle they're coming from. And it is what it is. I mean, it's like, I'm one of the ones that say was born at night, not last night. That's it. I just watch it. And people don't pick up on it because they'll see that demeanor I have and they won't understand that, man, I'm light years ahead of what your game is. You playing that game, not me. Like, I'm not going to let your game change how I behave. I just sit there and watch the game and know how to make the next move accordingly to the game that you play. That's it. And so, but we have to make sure that we're honest with ourselves. Just be real, because you can't brag about everything else you can do and how much knowledge you know, and then not operate in love. And that's what they're doing now. A lot of people have a lot of knowledge, a lot of history and everything, but they're operating wickedly, basically.
1 Corinthians 13:3. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love, it profits me nothing.
Ain't that something? Even if you give your whole body to be burned and you ain't got love, it profits you nothing. So this is showing the Most High don't want you to operate from a standpoint of faking like you got love. He wants you to really have love. And you gave your whole body to be burned and it don't profit nothing. You done died. I mean, so it's like it's better to live in love than to be sacrificed on behalf of saying it's love, because it's not love for real. You got to be real. And if you're not real, it's not going to work. Everything that's fake will be exposed. Everything that's phony will be exposed. Everything will be tried by the fire. And that's the truth. I mean, you have to look at this. I mean, everybody that's listening to me now, you know the story of Job. We don't have to go into it. You know the conversation that went on. The Most High would let them know, you looking at my servant Job, and you let them know, yeah, I see him. Just let me touch him for a minute. I mean, let me show you how he'll turn on you. But Job didn't have nothing in him to turn. Job stood strong. So he said, look, man, I did all this to him. It's like one thing after another was happening to him. For one thing finished, it was another thing coming bad on the way. It's like it just never stopped, and that didn't work. So he said, let me touch his flesh. This is where the problem comes in at. When the flesh is touched, will you still stand? Will you still be strong and still be able to turn toward the right thing rather than the wicked thing because the flesh is being touched? This is what I'm saying. Most people that are listening to this video later will fall weak and take whatever jab that's coming out because of the flesh being weak, because mental. They haven't been tuned into anything, so they let all the propaganda scare them, so now they done defile their body. And that's what's going on. People will fall weak because of the fact that they don't have nothing to make them stand. It's like if you don't stand for Yahushua Mashiach, you're going to fall for whatever they create. Fear is what it is. But when you operate in love, it says perfect love casts out fear. He didn't give us a ruach of fear. It says with a love, power, and that of a sound mind. And so, you know, I mean, we have to look at this and say, okay, look, how are we going to defeat what's really going on? It's bigger than just reading these scriptures. It's about living. See, I like to deal with stuff from a practical standpoint. How are we going to make it at this point in time? We're going to have to set up a system, a real true system of somebody we trust outside of just, you're going to have to come out of your comfort zone sometimes. Sometimes the Most High may allow you to run into somebody. You'll say, well, I don't know them. You ain't got time to really get to know somebody's whole life story sometime. When the Ruach shows you that this is it, you got to be able to move on and say, look, I'm ready, and move forward. And y'all going to have to share, change information, whatever you got to do to say, look, because everybody that you're looking for sometimes is not in your circle. Like you have to come out of it. Like we have to tell people, come out of the hood. Come out of that hood mentality of thinking. Come out of your comfort zone and begin to, explore the things of Yah. Because if not, what are you going to do? I mean, because if they don't have it, then what do? You don't do that when you're trying to find resources. When you're trying to find a place to stay, you're trying to find money to accomplish something, whether it's a car, get a mortgage. Do you go in your little circle? No, because they ain't got it. That's the thing. So you got to have to come out your circle also when it comes to issues and stuff. And we have to think outside the box. If we think closed-minded, we have to look at it. If you're going to anything else, if you're going outside of your circle for anything, then you may have to go outside your circle for other things too. But it don't mean you just go tell anybody your business. It's saying be open to who the Most High bring your way and not just shut them off because they're not in your clique. Yeah.
Verse 5 does not,
You do 4.
4.
Yeah.
Love suffers long and is kind. Love envies not. Love does not vaunt itself. It is not puffed up. Let's
stop, even though I know we got a bunch of coming. So basically, love suffers long. We talk about the long suffering. You're not operating in a sense where you're envying somebody. You're not puffed up. You're not operating. You're not lifting yourself up in any type of pride, putting yourself on any type of pedestal or anything. Like you're not trying to be the center of attention at all times. Like, you don't have this thing where, I'm not going to even get in this anymore, because we talk about this a lot where every 5 seconds you see somebody taking a selfie on Facebook, yet they're talking about the word, but you got a picture of them every second. It's like they constantly taking out. That's vanity. That's vanity. I mean, you see this going on, on a regular basis. Like every time I see it's a different, you done gave your whole life story on this system that's been set up to track you. It's all been set up to track you. Like jobs look at this stuff. And a lot of people don't realize why you're trying to be cool and you're so caught up into yourself that you're willing to risk your identity, just to be cool or to have swag. Like I like the incognito until it's time to be discovered, because like I don't need nobody from the outside looking at anything I got going on and being able to tell exactly where I'm at all times. That's a scary thing. And that's what this thing is designed to do, to track you. The ones that want to be so cool today, look, we're in Miami. We're here. We're there. It's like I can tell where you've been at for the last, however since you've been on Facebook. I can do a whole track record on your moves. No, that's not playing chess. That's playing checkers. That's being foolish. But this is what people do, because guess what? Nothing is wrong with it until it really boils down to the time when you wish you hadn't done it. So.
Does not behave itself unseemly, seeks not her own, is not easily provoked, thinks no evil.
We got to keep stopping. So does not behave itself unseemly. is that unseemly when you're saying somebody gonna be licking your boots and all this kind of stuff? You're gonna be raping their women and all this kind of stuff. That's unseemly when you're dissing somebody, like you said. That's unseemly when you come out with a punch. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's like you come out disrespecting the person rather than trying to have an intelligent conversation with them. That's unseemly. And so, you know, you have to look at this. It's not easily provoked. Like I said, you got to be easily to be approached. I mean, you don't have to accept bull crap, but someone should be able to talk to you. You should be able to be checked if you're wrong without falling out, blowing up. Man, you got, man, some of the ones saying the walk I seen act like straight up children. I mean, it's like you know you're doing something wrong. And it's like you say, and what they want to say, instead of saying, look, I did this wrong, start wanting you to prove exactly what they done wrong and all this kind of stuff and wanting to make sure you get down to a sign. No, man, you was wrong. Now, you ain't got to receive it. And so if that makes me and you fall out because I'm saying you were wrong, that means that you have the issue, not me. You don't want to be corrected. You can't accept correction. And this starts early. That means you weren't disciplined as a child. Like that, that means you were undisciplined. Because if you were disciplined at some point, if you were raised correctly, you'll understand, you know, what was wrong. Like if you didn't start getting your hand popped when you was touching the stove saying, hey, look, that's hot. If it was always an issue with your attitude and your parents covered it up, you didn't have a father figure, whatever it is that went on with you, you know, some people didn't have a stable home. It's always some background to somebody that can't receive correction. It's some hurt behind it. It's something that they dealt with that they don't talk about, but correction is what's going to make you better. You can't get better if you can't be corrected. And it's going to cause you to be stagnated and cause your growth to be stunted.
Rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth.
So you don't get excited in iniquity. Like, and it's back what I was saying again. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You got people get excited about iniquity, you know, get excited about sin like that. I mean, but when the truth come around, they don't want to hear, but they get excited about something that somebody's doing to diss somebody or somebody going through this. So you're excited for somebody's downfall or somebody that's caught up into sin. Like that excites you. But when it comes time for the person to be celebrated, you know where to be found. Like you shouldn't be a person that has an ear gate for bull crap all the time. Like that. You got to get to a point where you don't want to hear the foolishness, to the point where you're saying, look, if this isn't anything positive about the Most High, miss me with that. Like I said, it's to a point now where you have to make sure that you guard these things. These are the gateways, your ears, your eyes, your mouth. These are the ways things enter in that can corrupt you. I mean, what you're entertaining. I mean, this is like, you know, this is wisdom 101. I mean, you got to know that when you're dealing with the gateways, when you're dealing with things that you're hearing, gossip and mess, it corrupts you if you're eating it. It's junk food.
Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there should be knowledge, it shall vanish away. Okay,
and I'm not going to go into all this. We know in the end, all things will be corrected by the Most High. Trying to get to a point, and unless you got anything, I'm gonna sum this up with this. Go into the prayer and get off into the conversation. Father, I just thank you right now for the word that went forth. We just thank you right now for just allowing us to actually walk in truth, walk in love, begin to just walk into the light and not into the darkness. Father, Yah, with that being said, we thank you for everyone being protected, Father, Yah, from the evil and the wickedness that's of this world. We thank you for everyone drawing nigh to you even more, Father, Yah. In the name of your Son, Yahushua Mashiach, we pray. So be it.